Welcome to Functional Philosophy. I'm Charles Tew. That's T as in tango, E as in echo, and W as in whiskey. This is episode number 26, and its title is Immigration, the Culture War's Least Important Battleground. Hello everyone. I'm sure you can hear the patter of rain in the background. For reasons that are beyond my control, I am unable to record in any circumstances other than these. So I hope you enjoy the soothing sound of rain, because it's going to be here, probably, for the duration of this episode. Alright, immigration. I'm sure I don't have to explain to anyone how prominent this issue has become over the last few years, primarily because of the influx of Syrian refugees into Europe, and because of Trump's transformation of the Republican Party, and because of the Republican Party's ideology, which has made it primed for anti-immigration policies. So, right off the bat, I'm going to explain what the proper attitude toward immigration is, the proper immigration policy is. The proper policy is one of open borders on the basis of individual rights. Now, that does not mean you just let anyone in. This is standard objectivist and even libertarian, sometimes conservative policy. You don't let criminals in, you don't let terrorists in, you don't let vectors of dangerous diseases in. You don't let anybody in whose mere presence is an objective threat to individual rights. Okay. Other than that, you let everyone in. Why? Well, because people have the right to associate with whomever they like. If some company wants to hire someone who is non-native or not a citizen or from some foreign worker, no one has the right to say you can't do that because I don't think this person's ideas are beneficial to the country. So what you don't think his ideas are beneficial to the country? This is a fundamentally collectivist standard. Now, even better people, certain Europeans who are quasi-enlightenment, think that we shouldn't let all these Muslims in because their ideas are going to ruin the country, and a country has a right to declare who it will accept and who it will reject. No, it doesn't. Not in the sense that they mean it. Of course, it has a right to set its own standards for who constitutes an objective threat, but it does not have the right to bar people from entering for ideological and especially economic reasons. That is totally corrupt. The reason people think this way is because it's so rare to find somebody who really thinks in terms of individual rights. They think of the state, the country, as this collective, as this mass, and they think, open immigration, how are you just going to let people into the country? Don't we have a right? The individuals within the country have a right to associate with whomever they like. If they want to hire somebody, then they can. Or if somebody just wants to come into the country and they have the means to support themselves and they're no objective threat to anyone, then they can come in. Now, it's true, the state should not spend any money or resources to bring in refugees. That is certainly not an obligation or even legitimate for the government to do. But it should allow anybody in who has the means to get into the country on their own and poses no physical threat to anyone. Okay. Now, there are two objections to this. One is economic. The idea is, well, if you let these people in, they're going to depress wages and we have to keep our workers' wages high by what is essentially artificial protection from free trade, from free competition. Now that is totally illegitimate and works on the same premises as minimum wage. And if you understand what's wrong with the minimum wage, you understand what's wrong with keeping cheap labor out of your country. First of all, it's going to benefit everyone to have people working in the freest possible international market. But second, you have no right to tell an employer, sorry, you can't hire this person because somebody in this country wants that job at a higher wage. If you don't see that that is rank collectivism and statism, then, well, I'm sure you do see it, but just don't ignore that fact because you don't like it. That's what it is, and it's wrong. Now, the more plausible argument against open immigration is one of ideology and culture. Now, this falls apart fairly quickly because you can't justify... I mean, if you could justify not letting people in on the grounds of ideology, then why can't you justify kicking people out on the grounds of ideology? One logically implies the other, so that's out just on the grounds of rights. Now, it's true, foreigners do not have the civil rights of the country to which they are immigrating until they become citizens, but individuals have human rights no matter what their political circumstances. Alright, so you're going to let a bunch of Muslims in, even though they're going to Islamify our country, and there's a greater chance that they're going to become jihadists and blow people up and hurt people. So why can't you discriminate on the basis of ideology? Well, there are two reasons for this. One is, to the extent that Muslims are a threat, they are a threat because we are weak. Actually, this is both points, but there are two facets of this. One is physical and foreign policy, and the other is cultural and intellectual. So in terms of foreign policy, if we had the proper foreign policy, you would not have to worry about terrorism from Muslims or anyone else. My foreign policy has a single prescription: nuke Tehran. If you do that, you don't have to worry about any Muslims or any other terrorists ever again. I mean, that's a little hyperbolic. You'd have to make clear that this is the stance you are going to take from now on. You will not tolerate threats to America, and that might take a little more than a one-time thing. This might be a Nagasaki situation where one isn't enough. That's especially true today because of the decades of appeasement the West has exhibited. They might think this is just some fluke, so you might have to do more than that. But you do what it takes in order to make clear we are not tolerating threats. Now, what's important in terms of fighting jihadists is destroying the countries that give them material and, most importantly, moral support. These people want a caliphate. They want a Muslim state. ISIS is the Islamic State. They don't want to be a decentralized movement forever. They want a state, a government, a theocracy. Places like Iran, regardless of their sectarian clashes, the fact that there are Muslim states, that is an ideological inspiration to these people. If you destroy those states in the harshest terms possible, the most complete terms possible, with nuclear fire, you will send the message, no, we are not tolerating Muslim states that have the goal of attacking the great Satan. We are not tolerating that. You want to destroy your part of the world? Fine, we're not going to get involved. But if there is one single threat from any politician, from anyone who holds any kind of power in your country, you are going to be visited with nuclear fire. The end. End of discussion. So do what you want, but don't you dare let any of those stray bullets come over here. You can slaughter each other like the animals you are, but don't you dare let one of those bullets come over here. Now, if you did that, you would not have to worry about banning Muslims. Do you know why there are no Shinto fighters or fighters of no serious Nazis anymore? America sent the message. We are not tolerating threats of this kind. Period. When you break the enemy's spirit, when you make it clear that they are fighting for a lost cause, they will abandon it. And not even primarily because of the superior force of arms of America, but mostly because of the righteousness, because of the moral courage evident in that act of pushback, in that act of retaliation. The reason we keep getting attacked by jihadists is because we won't stand up for ourselves. We hate ourselves. We accommodate them. If we fought back, if we had the proper foreign policy, you would not have to worry about immigration. But instead, the disgusting, pathetic, cowardly, non-essential, as always, Republicans say, no, you know what? Let's put up with jihadism forever. Or rather, let's not fight the enemy because, apparently it's okay to use our military for everything but actually attacking people these days. We can't actually kill people. That's immoral. So we can't actually use the military to attack people. So we can't fight our enemies. We're not going to do that. Instead, let's let them exist. Let's not retaliate. And let's just clamp down on our own freedoms to prevent them from getting in. So let's have the Patriot Act. Let's spy on Americans. Let's not let people associate with foreigners with whom they want to associate. Let's clamp down on our freedoms because we don't have the courage to fight back. That is beyond enraging. Okay, so the grounds for a closed system of immigration on the basis of physical threats, that is out. There will be no physical threats if you have the proper foreign policy. I mean, this is exactly the same as, well, we need regulation because people are going to dump toxic waste in places, or bankers are going to defraud people. No, you don't need regulation for that. What you need are laws that you enforce. And then if you enforce them, you're not going to get people doing those bad things. You don't need regulation to preemptively stop people from doing bad things. It's the same principle. Okay. But now, what about the ideological issue? Well, if we let too many people in, too many communists, too many Muslims, too many people who hold values antithetical to ours, won't that change our country? So shouldn't we stop them? I mean, we shouldn't let people in who are going to vote to turn our country into something that's no longer free. Well, first, I want to say that there is a theoretical limit. You could not just let in, 500% of the population in terms of immigrants. You could not let in 5 times as many people as are already in the country in a single year. Now, we've never gotten close to the point where we're letting too many people in, but theoretically, there's a limit to how many people you can let in at once for purposes of assimilation. But the point is, you don't have to worry about immigrants coming in and changing the culture, because immigrants follow the culture of the country to which they are immigrating. It's as simple as that. Now, if you're superficial you might not understand this, and you might take the native pride mentality of a lot of immigrants today as evidence that this isn't true. But it's actually evidence that it is true. Why are they doing this? They're not doing this because it's just in the nature of people to be this tribal. They are doing this because it's what we are telling them to do. Because we have this social justice, anti-assimilation culture in the U.S. And we brainwash immigrants who come here. We indoctrinate them into this tribalism. And we've been doing it for a long time. This did not start with Obama or the recent, over the last few years, social justice movement. George W. Bush did this. Dr. Yaron Brock, an immigrant from Israel, he talks about how he was so disappointed when he came here, and when he finally got his citizenship, and what did George W. Bush say? I don't know if he was really there. I think it was just like a pre-recorded message or something. But in any case, the message from him to these people who were getting their American citizenship was, don't forget your old culture. Diversity is our strength. Maintain your old ways. Keep those vibrant and alive. He said he was so disappointed. He didn't come here because he loved his old culture. He came here because he wanted to be American. So what you have to understand is that this tribalism, all these people waving the flag of their own country, celebrating their national pride, supporting their home country or their native country's sports team, that is because of us. That's not because of them. Paradoxically, it proves that they actually follow us. They are only doing this because we tell them to. Back when assimilation was the standard, back when that was what was expected, people assimilated, and there was no problem. But now, because we have a bad ideology, we are getting bad immigrants. So what you have to understand is it all comes down to us. A country determines its own destiny. If we have bad ideas, then the immigrants who come here are going to adopt those same bad ideas. And if we have good ideas, then the immigrants who come here are going to adopt those good ideas. So if we have good ideas, you don't have to worry about stopping immigration, because the immigrants who come here are going to adopt those good ideas. But if we have bad ideas, then stopping immigration isn't going to do a damn thing, because what's destroying us is our own ideas, not the immigrants. They are just following our lead. So it is totally impotent, pathetic, and missing the entire point. It is fundamentally anti-intellectual to think that stopping immigration is going to change anything. No, it's the ideas of the country that change things. And if you have bad ideas, the country is going down no matter how many immigrants you stop from coming here. And if you have good ideas, the country is going to succeed no matter how many immigrants you let in. So anyway, that is the bottom line of this episode. Immigration is not an important issue in terms of the culture war. It is it's the most derivative issue possible. It's not going to change anything except at the fringes. And this whole attitude that it is the end-all, be-all just comes from this static view of human nature. This anti-intellectual view of human beings. It's really projection. It's really the projection of primitive collectivist nationalists like the alt-right and Trump and many in the Republican Party. It's this view that, well, we know that our so-called patriotism is just tribal and intrinsic and unjustified, and so we expect everybody else to be the same way. So we have to keep everybody out. so that we don't have a balkanized state. And you see this with these, oh my God, these people who claim that socialism works in Scandinavia because it is a homogenous culture. That is pure racism. That is so anti-intellectual. No. Socialism does not work in the Nordic countries because they are racially homogenous, you cretins. It doesn't work at all, actually. And it doesn't work because it is a bad idea for all human beings. People are not inherently tribal. That is an idea that is being pushed by morons like the people who propagate this stupidity of closed borders and socialism working if you have a homogeneous population. That is no. Altruism does not work anywhere. Immigration does not matter. Direct your efforts to things that are actually going to save the culture. Direct your efforts toward advocating for freedom and capitalism and individual rights, not toward keeping out people on the premise that everybody is innately irrational and tribal. Because if that is your premise, then it doesn't matter how many people you keep out, because your country itself is going to be primitive and tribal. And frankly, I don't give a damn what the racial or ethnic makeup of my country is, if it's tribal either way. That's not a meaningful difference. If you're really trying to sell me on the idea that I should just be fighting for our kind of collectivism rather than some other kind, sorry, I'm not in that fight with you. I don't want any kind of collectivism. I'm not looking for the right kind, and so I don't care about keeping people who have the wrong kind out. What I care about is fighting anybody who holds collectivist beliefs of any kind, white or non-white, foreign or non-foreign. If you'd like to send me a question, just email me at charles.a.2@gmail.com. You can also visit my website at charlestew.com. There you can find information on and links to all my work, including ways to support it. Thanks for listening. Let's meet again in episode 27.